Hello and welcome back to UK Nationals.
Round 7, Sean. How are you feeling? 7 rounds in.
How am I feeling? You always ask me how I'm feeling. How are you feeling,
I'm feeling
Mr.
great.
Dan Tripp?
I'm sitting here. I'm sitting on a comfy chair. I've got a table right here. I got a microphone right
Have you
here.
had enough coffee?
I've had enough coffee for maybe like half a day.
Okay.
I could probably do with another one once the tournament is over. But I am excited to bring to you another fantastic game of Flesh and Blood.
Absolutely.
And it's a classic matchup of the Shadow Heroes, Sean. We've got Shane and Levia here. We got
Sharif Shaban.
Sharif playing Levia, and I think it was Nathan on Chain. Nathan Hill's 5-1, Sharif 5-1. Still all to play for. Still very much live. Really wanting to get a good win out of this pod right out the gate.
For sure. And what was Sharif's concern going into this matchup? That Nathan Hills is the only Chain in the pod.
And that means that Chain's going to have a lot of good cards, a lot of good blood deck cards, going to be able to soul shackle, going to try and go over the top of this Levia, going to try and just out aggro them, end the game, win the game, move on to game number, well, technically game number 8. But Sharif's going to try and stop that. Sharif's going to try and put on as enough pressure as possible, going to try and get Chain down really low, and going to try and go over the top. Or he's going to sit back, he's going to block out, and he's going to try and make Nathan run out of cards. It's a strategy that Sharif's going to have to decide early on what he wants to do, because he needs to be careful if he fills up his banished zone with blood debt. Being out then trying to block out the chains, maybe not going to do the job. Or he's going to try and go hard and just try and pressure the chain out the game. So he's got to. It really is going to depend on what kind of cards he gets in his opening hand, what kind of aggression he sees for the chain. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Nathan is going to be looking to build up those soul shackles, utilizing Chain's ability to give his attacks go again. Now, obviously, being the only Chain in the pod, we're fully expecting Nathan here to have probably an awful lot of Shadow Runeblade cards to be able to play from the banished zone. Let's see how we're going to be playing out here as both players shape up.
So one thing we do see for Sharif is he does have the hooves with the Shadow Beast, which the last Levia player we had didn't have the hooves. The hooves do enable a slightly wider turn by gaining an action point. So it can be used to push a very big finishing turn, maybe push 2 dominated attacks in one turn, or go over the top. Whenever a 6 power or more goes into the banished zone, destroy the hooves and gain an action point. Basically gain go again. It also has battle worn to get a little bit of block, which might be useful to sort of maybe shutting down just like a Galaxy Black for 1. Just preventing 2 damage with that 1 block can be kind of nice. It does also have the Ironhide equipment to help him play against this Chain. Couldn't quite see. It looks like Chain is going first. Going to just Galaxy Black.
Meanwhile,
assuming developed the Soul Shackle. Hence why it's in the field as well.
And Nathan's got his own range of equipment here as well. We've got those stubby hammers that can really push additional damage as he looks to go bigger on wider turns, as well as the Aether Ironweave as well. Just to be able to go that extra wide. And his own
Sharif just going to keep it simple, just whack him back for 7 here.
Boom.
Pitching a red out of hand just to make sure that he doesn't have it. Get a card into Arsenal. Wait for the next turn from Chain. But obviously Chain needs to respect this. Maybe we see a double block here this early in the game. I think taking 7 is a big chunk. So probably see a 2 block with 2/3 blocks. So maybe just Chain coming back with something off that first shackle off the top. You thinking when there's 1 Chain, you've got a decent chance of hitting that first shackle as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Sharif, obviously, is going to be primed for those Prism matchups, of which there's 4 Prism in this pod. So a card like Lunatide Plunderer is going to be perfect into that matchup. But if this does hit, it allows Sharif to banish. Look at the top card, is it?
No, it just banishes itself.
Hits a hero, banish itself, and up to 1 card from the
technically banish card from Chain's soul, but Chain has no soul because he's an evil Shadow Runeblade.
He has no soul.
Halfie in the chat just saying that Nathan doesn't always shackle when he plays Chain Unlimited, just his playstyle. And did 3-0 his last pod with Chain, so that's really interesting to hear. I assume the fact that the soul shackle is in play means there is 1 soul shackle, but I'm not certain about that. We'll see when. Yeah, so they are shackling now, so it's now up to 1 shackle. So no shackle on the previous turn, just the 1 here, and then the go again with the crackle.
Warmonger's Recital, pumping that Crackle for +3. And if it hits, it can go straight back into Nathan's deck. So coming in for 4 in total and 1 arcane damage. Now we have said in the previous draft that arcane damage is quite good in Monarch draft. There's not, I mean, there isn't really ways of blocking arcane damage, right?
No, there's very few. There's like an item with Spell Void. You can obviously make a Soul Shield as Prism, and there are a couple of Spell Void equipment pieces, but generally you get better use out of them than using them for their Spell Void. So Arcane can come through really, really, really strong, especially for Chain, because it does turn on things like Rip Through Reality, giving that go again. So you just need to be, well, it's not really about being careful about it. It's kind of like, well, there's not much I can do about it. So I just need to just embrace the fact that Arcane is going to play an important role in this game. Can't go down too low because they could just kill me and there's nothing I can do about it. So
and maybe that's why Sharif is looking to block the physical damage here, anticipating an awful lot of Arcane coming in.
I'm not so. I think he's just trying to block out here because he just thinks he can do something with the hand he's got, and just then shut down this Galaxy Black, which is coming in for 1. But if it hits, we'll deal 1 arcane damage to Sharif.
So tempting to block. Maybe we could just chuck the Hooves in there. See what Sharif.
Yeah, we were saying
has in
earlier,
store.
Hooves is a really good. It's a good use of Hooves to shut down these Galaxy Blacks for 1. But Sharif might want to keep his Hooves around for a little bit longer.
I mean, technically blocks for 2, right? If it's blocking
Yeah, exactly.
the Galaxy Black.
It's technically blocking for 1, Sean.
Technically blocking for 1.
Practically, it is
Practically
preventing
blocking
2
for 2.
damage. Yeah. And we do see there the Red Dread Screamer block with, which is a good card. You know, it's a Sharif probably said that has to get rid of that. But this Ravenous Meat Axe is going to come in for 5, hitting that red off the top, hitting the 8 power red off the top.
So Sharif looking to set up his graveyard here.
Yeah.
Ready for those Shadow Brute cards to really push some damage later on in the game. Like you said, Sharif will be looking to really sort of shape up against Nathan, see what Nathan's play or approach is going to be to this game to decide whether he want to go aggressive himself or maybe even try and deck out Nathan Hills, right?
Yeah, but I think at this point, we were saying that Sharif needs to make the call at the start of the game. We're seeing that Nathan's been a bit conservative with Soul Shackles. He's probably thinking he's probably not going to go crazy. Nathan looking like he's willing to take his time, build to something really, like Happy was saying in the chat, build to something big, right? Try and do an explosive turn, a bit more control play style of the chain deck rather than just, you know, shackling every turn and just seeing what comes up off the top. And obviously Nathan had the cream, had the pick of the litter when it came to chain cards in the draft. Must be feeling pretty confident if he's got that play style in mind that he's got the cards to do it. You know, he was basically able to choose every Shadow Runeblade card that came his way. Maybe just pitching things in a way so that he can set up something impressive.
Nathan looking to utilize that block on the Aether Ironweave early, in case he wants to utilize it as soon as possible. And takes 4 damage. Flip of the Shackle, we see Seeds of Agony. Would you be looking to play out the Seeds of Agony this early in the game? Or do you think I mean, obviously it depends on the cards you have in hand, but I mean, it's a nice card to have.
We saw it in
isn't
the
it?
other game with Rob Catton that he did decide to play it out,
Just
even though he
played
hit it early, and it's kind of an interesting one because it does enable some of your other cards that you can banish that you just want to make sure you have a non-attack for. But it depends because this is the blue one. So if Nathan doesn't have the 0 cost, I'm trying to get a good look at his hand here. It doesn't look like he does. Looks like he has 2 rips and a Vexing Malice. Not sure what's in the arsenal. So may just decide to leave the seeds there, just set it up for the following turn. But if he does have a 0 cost in arsenal, he could try and use it to enable something with the rips that he has.
I mean, it does have another Seeds in hand, but they're usually quite nice to pull off the shackles, right? Or to banish rather than
If it's like
typically
Halfie
rather than
saying,
to play.
and Halfie knows Nathan well, he's going to try and play for a bigger turn. He might just decide to pitch the seeds, get it back into the deck, let it come around later. Looks like that's a belittle.
Yeah.
And there we do see the seeds pitched to make, so, you know, get that back into the deck, try and get it banished at some point.
So Belittle played, reveals the vexing, which allows him to go looking for a Minnowism. It's in there somewhere. Or he's got 2 picks.
It looks like he's taking a red one, so going to try and maybe play this out this turn. Probably
so trying to push some damage early then, going for a red, but presumably. So that's presuming he doesn't have a blue.
It's just, I guess it's just, he either doesn't have the blue or he doesn't think he needs the resources at this time. Why not play out the more powerful card? Leave the blues in deck to fetch when you actually need them, or to just pitch with later in the game. And of course, these are always cards that could potentially get banished as well, even though he is only on 1 Soul Shackle.
I guess also he doesn't want to end up in a situation where those Minnowisms end up being banished.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
It does go up to 2, so he's going to play this Vexing out with Go again. Is a yellow Vexing. He's going to get +3 from the Minnowism, coming up to 2 Arcane and 5. So it's actually representing 7 damage, which is pretty crazy, right? 2 of which Sharif is not going to be able to do anything about.
And Arcane.
Which has turned on his... when he doesn't have the resources now to play the Rip Through Reality, so...
So Sharif takes damage from the Belittle. Takes the Arcane. And now deciding what to do with this physical damage. I mean, we can see a Boneyard Marauder in hand. There's a Graveling Growl as well. Okay. So Sharif looking
so
to...
pitches a red here, so it doesn't have an easy way of blocking with the Ironhide Plate. I'm going to come in now with the Galaxy Black. Hasn't actually played a card from the Banish Zones. It's just coming in for 1. And like we said earlier, those Hooves, they're going to get their block value by essentially blocking 2, like Sean was saying earlier. So Sharif did shot that down. I think Nathan made a good hand made a good turn out of those cards. But Sharif
he'll be taking damage as well.
And
from
Nathan,
the
taking the 1
seeds,
from the Seeds of Agony, the Blood Deck card there, and Sharif's left with 2 cards, might be able to make something happen. It's just going to be coming in for 4 here with the Ghostly.
Ghostly is nice, right? If he can get that into his Banish Zone, he can play that out off the back of a go again attack, or like you were saying at the start, utilizing those Hooves to give him the additional action point to be able to play the Ghostly Visit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Later on in the game. That recursion, just 4 damage, just sitting in your Banish Zone. So Nathan looking to block this.
Yeah,
only on 2 shackles so far.
Sharif hoping to hopefully be able to play that Ghostly Visit again, like you said, Sean, from the Banish Zone. Hopefully, be able to play it twice.
But we've not seen him banishing anything really yet.
Yeah, he's only on 2 shackles, so he does lose one of his Minnowisms that we're talking about. Those Minnowisms, they can get banished.
Blue Minnowism too.
I think when he was shuffling through his deck, that he actually had another Minnowism on top of that. So I think there might be a 3rd one. Well, now only a 2nd one. I'm now the last one in deck, so he probably still has something to fetch with Belittle if he does draw into another one. Just gonna throw a 6 out. And this is not blocked with 2 cards. It will go to being a 7 as well.
The old Stony Wootenharg.
I like this chain style of play. I used to play a chain a little bit like this, kind of maybe like occasionally doing like a Galaxy Black into a thing like a Stony Wootenhog off a blue, like a 1 if it hits, deal 1 Arcane into a big 6 attack. You can push a lot of damage through that way, especially if people don't respect their life totals well enough. You can get them down really low and then finish with a massive turn with chain. It can do really well.
So if you're preparing for that, are you initially looking at your hand, thinking, what cards do I want to see from banishing? What cards do I want to see at the end of the game?
I just think with this style of playing chain, it just allows you to really set up your banishes really well, because you can pitch blood deck cards to play things like Stony to swing your weapon, but it still allows you to push, like, essentially with a Galaxy Black and an attack for 6, you're kind of pushing like 8 damage while still setting up your Banish Zone in a way that feels good for you.
And Sharif himself coming in with a lovely Zealous Belting. 5 go again. Conditional
Yeah.
go again,
I know.
but go
Doesn't
again.
the blue swing with big tree have 5 attack
5.
as well? So this isn't
Is it
actually
more than?
going to give Zealous Belt and go again. So
Oh,
this
it's
is just representing a 2 for 5
greater.
for 2 cost for 5. Yeah, 5 attack for 2 cost. Yeah,
Get it out.
get it out, get it. And,
Get it up.
but so not enabled to go again because it's just the blue smash with big tree.
Bit awkward the blue smash with big tree. Obviously good for resources, but it's only coming in for 5 power and no block.
Yeah, I
Obviously
think
that's
putting
maybe a bit of a card that you have to pull as a result of being there being 2 leviers in the pot.
Yeah, I agree, Sean. I think that's not quite what a card that Sharif would like to have at the bottom of the deck, especially if there's a point where he's trying to block out and he draws into that 0 cost. But it is always a blue. He can always swing his Miax with it if he has to.
But Nathan down to 7 here.
Yeah, Nathan also not really hitting these banishes. Like, obviously, he's only on 2 Soul Shackles. You can't ask for that much at this point. But he is sort of losing a lot of health. This Seeds of Agony in the banish zone, he's just left it here. It is ticking away at him every turn. And Sharif is pushing damage through. We'll see what Nathan can do here. Kind of try and switch this up a little bit. Try and put Sharif down a bit of life, a few more life points.
Those stubby hammerers, though, always threatening, aren't they? They're always just sitting there waiting to push through that extra damage on go wide turns. But
Yeah,
just how wide can you go when you're on 2 shackles?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you got, but yeah, like I think it's not so much like it's the rip through realities that really enable off the shackles that really enable a much wider turn. But you know, if you can get something like a captain's call down, I think he's going to try and play something here. Plays out the seeds from hand. Must have so many seeds in his deck. He's been pitching them, he's been playing them. Interesting
Memorial
choice that he's playing
Ground.
Memorial Ground.
Not a card we often see played in Monarch Draft.
He's got the Riftbind in hand, which is a little bit awkward here. I think he's going to try and do something with Stubbies.
Pitches the Memorial Ground.
Now we get the
To
Brandish here. So
Brandish
that's the
from
go
Arsenal.
again, right? That's the go wide here.
Yeah.
Coming in for 4.
Coming in for 4.
He still hasn't played a card from the banish zone, so if this Brandish hits, the weapon will only come in for 2, which is still which Sharif should be able to handle. But if he does play that Seeds of Agony from the banish zone, suddenly the Galaxy Black will be coming in for 4 if this Brandish hits. So this is a pretty tricky proposition for Sharif. He does decide to respect it and double block.
And Tremors of Erythriel, is that
Erythriel.
cost 1? Or?
Yeah, it's 1
Yeah,
cost.
so it's not going to work on the seeds, but
No.
yeah,
It's just whether Nathan
awkward, isn't
decides
it?
that he wants to play this blue seeds for no effect, but essentially the effect of giving your Galaxy Black +2 to make it a much harder card to block from Shin, because then it's coming in for 4. If it hits, deal 1 arcane. But if it comes in for 2, it's a much easier proposition to shut down. Do you see another shackle go down?
Yeah, DJ, I hope that we're able to provide a little bit of clarification on exactly what's going on. But to be quite honest, it's just there's some damage coming through, and Sharif has to really think about how he's going to be blocking this out as Chain begins to build up those shackles.
And Sharif decides to keep this, maybe thinking I can probably push back. But Nathan, he still has more cards to play. Going to think about what he wants to do. Even though he's not got any resources left, he's spent them all. So going to have to pitch and play here.
Pitches the Riftbind. Coming with the Tremors.
Going to come in for, I believe this is actually a 4 attack. So not going to get the buff from Stubbies, but is going to get the +2 from having banished a card this turn.
Nathan's really had to sort
Coming
of
for
just
6.
pull a turn together here, really, hasn't
I don't
he?
know. I think it's a good turn though. Like I don't think he's had to force it.
Has it made the most of the stubbies? Has it?
I think he's got 1 hit off the Stubbies here. So maybe he was thinking he was going to play the Riftbind, depending on what happened, but decided to just cash in the Stubbies for a +1. It's kind of an interesting one. Maybe he was trying to get the hit with the Brandish, and when they didn't, decided, I'm not going to play the Seeds anymore because the Galaxy Black is still coming in, only coming in for 3. So I think Shin played around it quite well. Shin may be happy here too. Depends what he's got in the Just taking these sleeves off his equipment here to make sure that there's no issues with the, or just putting a sleeve on his equipment to make sure there's no issues with that. And yes, he does have a big attack from the arsenal to now push back really strong and try and threaten Nathan.
Yeah, 1 for 6. And it also just begins to remove some of the cards from his graveyard as well. He will
Yeah, I
be...
agree, Healthy. He did want to get that brand over the break point, and I think that's a good use of it. Like you're saying, if he's playing a more slow and control game, maybe he just wants to try and force an awkward block from Sharif, but Sharif was able to sort of keep a card in order to come back with the Boneyard Marauder here, which Nathan is going to have to respect, being on 6 health.
And Sharif now has 2 cards in the... 2 blood debt cards in his banished zone, so he'll be starting to think he'll kind of need to turn it on a little bit now. He'll be looking to banish 6 power cards to be able to turn on Levy's effect and reduce.
And we'll see now if Nathan's been rewarded for
debt.
keeping that blue seeds this whole time, because he has banished a Bounding Demagon red. So now Bounding Demagon you can only play if you have played a non-attack action. So if Nathan had no other non-attack actions here, he might not be able to play it, but it does look like he has a seeds in hand as well.
3 plays 9 here, Trip. What? It's still close, though. Still very close, right?
Yeah, it's still close. I think Chain can push a bit of damage through. It's really whether Sharif can keep enough here to be able to force a bunch of cards out of Nathan's hand. But Nathan's probably content now to start playing with maybe 1 or 2 cards in hand and just hoping to hit things with his banishes. Does pitch here
His own Zealous Belting.
Yeah, and this will give it go again, which is another great way of being able to go a bit wider with Chain, these Zealous Beltings. If you are playing a Chain deck that does have these bigger cards, does mean that Nathan has 0 resources now, 1 card in hand. It's probably going to follow up with this with seeds into Bounding Demagon, probably giving a Shackle to give it go again. It's going to present a lot of damage against Shin. Shin needs to be able to hit back with something, though he doesn't have a huge amount of blood debt at the moment. Could take a 2 if he's able to block this out.
So 5 go again. Nathan has 1 card left in hand.
Yeah, which I believe is another seeds.
But then he's got threats though in the banished zone, doesn't he, that he can play out. So Sharif having to really contemplate
having to think about the arcane damage here as well. You know, 1 damage. You can see seeds and a Bounding Demagon in the banished zone. He must be expecting that to get played. And then he sees the Rifted Torment. That's another arcane. Must be thinking, well, maybe that can get played too. That's 2 arcane putting you on 7. 5 coming in right now. Gonna have to think about what he can do. Maybe he just hopes at this point to keep Meat Axe and just swing that back.
But then he would be taking his own blood debt as well. It's part and parcel of being a Levia player. You see arcane damage coming at you, you see physical damage coming at you, and then if that's not enough, you've got blood debt just ticking away in the corner of your periphery. Always threatening to deal that extra damage as well.
Here comes the Ether Ironweave for the 2 resources. That is going to enable the Rifted Torment to be played as well.
4th Shackle.
I'm going to come in with that first. 1 arcane coming through, putting Shin on 5. 3 attack on the Rifted Torment. Probably going to see a block here. We do indeed. And Nathan now has the seeds.
Just going to move these out the way.
And the Bounding Demagon to play, which is going to push through another 5 damage, which is exactly lethal. Is going to require a block from Shin.
But block from Sharif here. He is going to be taking blood debt. So a block from Sharif here.
No blocks in hand, and that's going to be game. Just can't prevent it because he doesn't have any blocking cards.
And that's Levia.
The crazy thing about Levia.
That's Levia, folks.
So unfortunate that there was not being able to shut it down, but it was looking pretty rough for him anyway to be able to prevent that. Maybe he blocks for 1 there, goes down to 1, takes 2 blood debt, takes 1, goes down to 3, takes 2 blood debt, goes down to 1. It's still looking really difficult. He just dies to 1 arcane. Really tough situation for Shin, but it was so well played by Nathan. Just really like sensible, not doing crazy turns, but just using the great generics that we have in Monarch, such as Brandish, such as those big attacks, such as the 2 for 5 go again when you pitch a card with greater attack. Vexing Mal, not Vexing Mal, I can't remember what it's called. Tell me in the chat, everyone. What it's called? It was 7 games in. I just saw it played on the table. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, I just love those generic cards in the set because they're so impactful. They can really get stuff done. We saw Nathan use them so well. Just being content to just throw 6s at people, just throw 7s at people, just be like, respect this damage. I'm not going to do anything crazy with the soul shackles. Just going to take my time, going to make it work. And as Halfie was saying in the chat, like 3-0'd the last pod, I think that was what Halfie was saying, with Chain. Now coming into this one, going to try and do it again, going to try and take down these top players, try and take it all the way, try and get to tomorrow's 6 rounds of C, well, 3 rounds of CC, maybe 6 if they're lucky, make it into that top 8. So absolutely fantastic game there. And we will probably just have a little bit of a break. Yeah, blocking well. Exactly. That's the best part of Fab is blocking. I love a good blocker.
That was such stark contrast really to the game that we saw earlier between a Chain and Prism. In the first draft, where Rob Catton piloting the Chain in that game, where Rob was just all gas. It's just go, and he just almost just flew through that Prism. But in that one, Nathan played it a lot more contemplated, a lot more precise, a lot more. I don't know. He just planned it out. He took a lot of damage initially, but maybe he always felt very sure of his deck, very sure of his strategy to be able to pick apart.
I think it was maybe not so. Yeah, not sure of the strategy. Definitely had a strategy in mind. Definitely played to it. Took the shackles when they were sensible. Didn't take the shackles when they weren't doing anything, which is a great way of playing it. I mean, the best one I've ever had in Monarch Draft was when I managed to pick up a Dread Scythe and Chain, and I just played I just played a control version of Chain. It was one of the most fun experiences Fab I've had. It's just like fun to be able to play these different styles of the game. Even at this really high level of like round 7 of UK National Championships. So we're going to try and get get Nathan in for an interview. So stick around. You want to hear from this Chain mastermind, and we will have a little break from ourselves, but you will be able to see that interview with Baz the Bard coming up very shortly.
Do not go anywhere.
Thank you for joining us for that game. We've got 2 more to come today. They're going to be great ones. I've actually been really impressed with the quality of the draft games today, so I would stick around.
Fantastic.
They've been really fun ones to cast and really fun ones to show you guys. So stick around, get yourself a drink, and we'll be right back with the interview.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the UK Nationals at Leeds Royal Armoury. I'm Baz the Bard. I've been joined by Nathan Hills. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Very well played. I've played you a couple of times, Monarch Draft and Chain. You don't shackle very often.
I don't.
At all.
And yeah, this game was a bit of a surprise because I shackled really early on. Normally I 3-0'd my last draft playing Chain, and on average I wasn't shackling till around turn 4. So building up using stubbies to have a good turn to start applying the pressure. Use it then to start soul shackling and then go and just keep applying the pressure from that point. But I think in this game my first couple of hands were a bit awkward, so I was just trying to start eking the damage in a bit.
So when that blue seeds came out, that seed sat in there for ages, and I was like, you're not going to let it just sit there and kill you. But it was just like the patience you had to leave it in there and just go, I'll take that damage.
Yeah, my game plan was if I'm presenting enough awkward on-hit attacks consistently that Levy is having to block out, they can only really come back with normally like a 5-power attack, like normally going to keep a blue to meet axe and hopefully hit a 6 to present 5 power. So although I'm taking 1 damage, it presents more damage when I can use it in conjunction with Bounding Demigon, for example, or one of the a Rift Binding. So I also felt a bit, I think on the 3rd turn of it being there, I felt maybe it's not coming, maybe it's not meant to be, but I held out and it definitely paid off in that last turn.
Yeah, what were you thinking when you were soul shackling? Because you missed loads.
Yeah, I kind of needed something on that. The turn, I think, where I activated stubbies, I was just trying to, again, present awkward on-hit and awkward breakpoints for making the blocking difficult on their side because I wasn't really able to present anything. And if I wasn't hitting my blood debt cards, Levy could just take a bunch of damage and then go, okay, here's a Dread Screamer for 6, here's, Graveling Growl for 7. 13 damage over 3 cards, and at that point I'm on the back ropes and I'm just going to die to my own blood debt. So missing the first like few shackles was a bit harrowing.
Squeaky bum.
But, yeah, fortunately when I got it to 3, it paid off on that turn. So
Yeah, I
was
see.
really happy to see that. I had a sigh of relief, like, oh god, we're going to do it.
I see Sharif. I mean, he was blocking at the beginning, and you're just like, okay, he's filling up his discard pile room.
yeah.
He's going to pop at any minute. And then at one point he was checking. And you're like, okay, is this gonna be the turn? It never actually came. But yeah, I mean, right at the end he had two non-blocks, but that's the levy away, isn't it? It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I think even if he had the box there, that was the kind of term where I would just hopefully take over from there. I'm managing enough cards with Soul Shackles to that point just to provide, like, overextend the damage. So, and he had 2 Blood Debt cards in his graveyard, so I think even if he were to block out, he takes 2 there anyway. And then at that point, I think it's just another seeds to kill him. So it was unfortunate that he had 2 no blocks, but
Not for you.
not for me. No, I was very happy. I was very happy to see that.
So 6 and 1.
Yeah.
You're booking your place really well into day 2. So what was your loss?
I lost in Constructed to Azuri in round 1.
Okay.
So I'm playing Dorinthia in CC.
With the greatest of axes.
With the greatest of axes, yeah. The best of axes. So fingers crossed we see that tomorrow in Constructed. And then, yeah, so I lost to Azuri in round 1. It was a really close game, but he played well and managed to eke over the last point of damage to kill me. And then I beat Bravo, which for my build of Dorinthia is kind of bread and butter. It's like I picked Dorinthia because I was expecting there to be a lot of Lexi, obviously, and I was expecting for the UK to be a lot of Bravo. So for me,
it's the second highest hero drawn with Azuri. Yeah, there's 10 Azuri and 10 Bravo.
Made the right call then.
Because I know that you were panicking in the chat. You were like, I've no idea what I'm going to pick.
I've been toing and throwing for so long, but I decided I've been having fun with Dorinthia, so I'll stick it out. And it's paid off. And by some miracle in round 3, I beat Fi, which is by far and worse my most difficult matchup. But we persevered, and yeah, she pulled through for a 2-1.
Yeah.
And then 3-0'd the last draft, and fingers crossed for a good result for this draft.
But you've played a lot of Dory against Fi, against David Carthy's in the chat.
Yeah.
And you know, I've recorded it for the Armory series I do.
Yeah, shout out to David. He's put through the hours of me sulking and crying and moaning about, I can't beat this matchup, it's unwinnable. But fortunately, I have a good group of testing players. David, Ben,
and Richard,
of course, and the other guys. Yeah, everyone is just put a lot of time in. So yeah, thank you all for jamming games of Fi into me and the likes. And yeah,
brilliant. All the very best.
Thank you. Cheers, Baz.
Nice. Righty, short break, and we'll bring you round 8. Yeah, round 8.